Sarada is one of my favorite characters in Boruto, always has been for the most part. Very early on in the series, since chapter 1, we're introduced to her and we learn that she has the goal of becoming Hokage. And over time, we see her slowly develop into someone who would take charge of situations like a Hokage would and make good decisions for the greater good of her village. However, there's always that minority of people who just don't like a character and start to misunderstand the character as a result, and this is actually something I'm seeing pretty frequently with Sarada as Vortex gets more popular and more chapters start to come out. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about why Sarada needs more respect and why I think she'll be the 8th Hokage in the future. Before we get started, please just take a second to like the video, comment on some video ideas I can cover in the future, and subscribe with post notifications on so you don't miss when I upload another video. To start out, Sarada's goal is to be the Hokage, of course, something we know ever since chapter 1, and similar to Naruto, she's extremely vocal and prideful about it. This is also how she contrasts to Boruto, because whereas Boruto wants to be like her dad, a shinobi who protects everyone from the shadows, Sarada wants to be a shinobi like Boruto's dad, one who leads by example in the light, while protecting and making the best decisions for her village. This is even sprinkled a lot throughout the first few chapters of Boruto, where she's constantly talking about her team's work instead of just her own, and even shows how much of a leader she can be when under pressure. When asked the trivia question at the chunin exam, Sarada asked Boruto what does he think Sasuke would choose, and Boruto said he thinks Sasuke would choose no since he doesn't seem straightforward. But when asked why she asked about Sasuke, she says she's choosing a different path than her dad and she's going to become Hokage, so she leads her team into choosing yes. Afterwards, they realized the trivia question was just a trick question and the point was to show the fruits of their training and think quick on their feet. Sarada, being one of the few people to succeed in this drill, shows that not only will she lead her team, but even when cornered, she'll figure it out for her and her team and won't give up in order to succeed. This is even supported when Sai is talking about the reason they held that drill, and he says the people who lacked the courage and simply accepted defeat, they made the wrong choice and they don't deserve to be chunin. The point of the first round is to display the split decision the Genin will make when backed into a corner, whether they'll give up or think quickly for themselves and their team. And Sarada showed that she passed this drill with flying colors. Now, I'll admit that we don't see much of Sarada in part 1, but in the Boro fight, everything I just said about Sarada gets amplified many times over, and she shows the best examples to why she's a future Hokage. When Team 7 finds out that Naruto was sealed, they try to go rescue him, but they meet up with Boro, who's guarding the pot that Naruto is in. They start fighting, and while everyone is being reckless and jumping into a fight with an opponent they know nothing about, Sarada is staying smart and calculated. Instead of rushing in on Boro, she stays back to observe and think about what her opponent's abilities are. She first realizes that Boro can regenerate and then sees him weave in signs for some kind of jutsu, breaking down everything that she can see using her head instead of brute force, which in turn saves her team because it's right after this that Kawaki and Boruto go down to Boro's poison and would have just straight up died if not for Sarada. Sarada realized that Boro has a dark mist surrounding him with her Sharingan and says they can't get near him without doing something about it. She also realizes that Boro is weaving signs for some kind of jutsu and starts asking herself necessary questions like why Boruto and Kawaki can't absorb the mist if it seems to be some kind of jutsu and they're able to absorb everything else that Boro throws at them. Mitsuki tries to get rid of the mist with his wind style, but him and Sarada realizes that it doesn't work. Boro weaves signs again and Sarada notices that he's instantly neutralizing the venom because of this. After calculating and observing the whole time, she finally comes in to save her teammates by throwing a giant rock at Boro and taking her teammates to safety to retreat and regain their footing. Kawaki, questioning Sarada's actions, asks if she's planning to abandon Lord 7th, but Sarada claps back and says they would have been killed if they would have stayed in Boro's vicinity. She says she doesn't plan on tucking her tail and running away, so Boruto asks if she has a plan, and Sarada says they need to figure out his jutsu first and reminds everyone that in order to do that, they need to stop getting ahead of themselves and that the basics of being a shinobi is teamwork. It's due to this and some help from Mitsuki that she's able to figure out that Boro's mist is actually composed with viruses and that Boruto and Kawaki are sick of an illness, which also leads to the conclusion of why they couldn't absorb the mist with karma. Mitsuki says he has an idea of how to deal with the virus, but before that, the new Team 7 needs a commander that can keep them unified as a squad. He says if Sarada didn't make the call to retreat, who knows what would have happened next. They would have all been dead. Respect Sarada. He says we all need to obey the decisions of the commander without arguing, and that captain is Sarada. Although Sarada has shown examples of why she should be team leader, this is Sarada's first time truly being the captain of her team, and it's more than deserved. In fact, it's the right decision because Sarada has shown time and time again that she would make the best decision for her team and lead them to victory. After being appointed captain, Sarada shows up to fight Boro by herself. Boro starts to rush at her while using his lava style jutsu, but Sarada reacts with her fireball jutsu and and cancels it out. She even comments that Boro might be powerful, but he's not that fast, and continues to attack him from long range to make it seem like she's staying away from the mist in order to make Boro think she's still susceptible to the mist. She even plays off her ignorance well enough and lets Boro get in close so she can hit him with the point blank fire style jutsu, while Boruto and Kawaki come in for what they think would be a finishing blow. However, it didn't work since Boro's regeneration is too good, and they still haven't figured out why he's able to regenerate so easily. The kids keep trying to attack Boro, but it's useless, and Kawaki, realizing this, asks if Boruto and Mitsuki can buy him some time. Kawaki tells Sarada that it's only a matter of time before they run out of chakra before Boro, and that's what Boro is aiming for. He says they have no way of winning as long as Boro keeps regenerating like this, but there is a way to neutralize it. Kawaki says Boro was modified by Amato and that Amato is a genius, but even his technical skill has a limit. Kawaki continues and says the downside to scientific ninja tools are that the stronger they are, the bigger they have to be, and says that Boro must have a core the size of a heart somewhere in his body. Kawaki tells her to use her Sharingan to find it, and Sarada started to observe and think back on Boro's actions. She says right after he wove signs, it looked like muscles rippled slightly as if something was moving inside Boro's body. Sarada finds out where Boro's core is, but realizes that she can't just tell the others since Boro will catch on and it will be a waste of their efforts. So she has to take matters into her own hands and do it herself. At first, she thinks she doesn't have a jutsu that can both penetrate Boro's body and that's faster than he can weave signs to move his core. But then she realizes that it's just one attack that she has that can get the job done, a jutsu that can pierce his core whether he notices it or not, a jutsu she's still practicing and that she hasn't really used in battle yet, but she has to try. We then see her bust out the Chidori and successfully pierces through Boro, taking his core and breaking it in the process. Sarada not only showed off her analytical ability, but also showed off how powerful she can be and how effectively she can use her strength. She took charge of that entire fight, even to the point where they all agree she should be captain, and if it wasn't for her, Kawaki, Mitsuki, and Boruto would all have been dead. While taking out his core only led to Boro going on a rampage and would have eventually taken all of them out if not for Momoshiki. You can't discredit everything Sarada was able to do in this fight, and they would have got outlasted regardless if not for Sarada. It's not like her opponent is weak either. Sarada specifically says that he's powerful, just not as fast, and there's even statements that compare Boro and Code in terms of abilities. I wanted to go over the misconception of Sarada's character, and some of the misconceptions come from the assumption that her narrative is centered around her relationship with Boruto, and honestly, I think this is pretty disingenuous. It's very obvious that Sarada and Boruto's relationship seems to be an important part of their character, but to say it's her only narrative is pretty bizarre. Sarada wants to be Hokage. She claims it's her dream and shows that she's definitely working towards that goal and has some qualities of being Hokage already. However, a lot like Boruto and his dream of wanting to be like Sasuke, she doesn't know what this means for her yet and needs to go through her own experiences to find out what it means to not only be the Hokage, but also to be like Naruto. Naruto always had that never give up attitude, especially when it came to his friends, and is the type of person to never turn his back on them. He put his life on the line for them several times over, and would even put his friends above his dreams because at the end of the day, he can't become Hokage if he can't even save a friend. In chapter 1 of Tubu Vortex, Sarada is shown yelling at Shikamaru about Boruto, and when Shikamaru tells her that at the rate she's going, she can forget about being Hokage and that she won't even be more than just a genin, Sarada asks if it's because her dad is a traitor just like Boruto, and Shikamaru says it has nothing to do with them and only about Sarada's actions as a Konoha shinobi. It's at this moment that Sarada tells Shikamaru that Lord Sevens once brought her dad back who had gone rogue and committed great crimes, and Naruto still became Hokage despite all of that. She says her role model is Lord Seventh and not Shikamaru. If you haven't gotten it yet, then I'll explain it in simpler terms. Sarada's conversation with Shikamaru is almost like Kishimoto telling you that Sarada is going through similar things to what Naruto went through with Sasuke, and in order for her to be the Hokage and like Naruto, she needs to go through what Naruto went through to understand why Naruto became the Hokage in the first place and the type of Hokage Naruto was. Sarada saying that Naruto is her role model is telling us, the readers, that she will follow in Naruto's footsteps and won't stop until Boruto is allowed back in the village, the same that Naruto did for Sasuke. As far as what her role will be moving forward into Tubu Vortex, I would say that Sarada is looking more important than ever. She still wants to be the Hokage of course, and it seems like she'll be heavily involved with Boruto, and she might even be the key to how Boruto becomes accepted by everyone in the village. Not only just Boruto, but her fight with Chidori is already being foreshadowed, which should be really interesting given Chidori is just evil Sasuke. He looks like him, uses his jutsu and fighting style, and Sarada will have to bring herself to take out a replica of her father. It should be a pretty emotional part of her story, and I can't wait to see it unfold. She's definitely Boruto's loudest supporter, even though she might look crazy to everyone else due to omnipotence and everyone's memories being overwritten. She still supports Boruto to the end because it's the right thing to do, and that's what her role model Naruto would do. We need to put more respect on the future 8th Hokage as she leads the village into better times that they haven't been in since Naruto was around.